Okay, so what we're going to look at today is helper functions. Helper functions are functions or methods that we use inside of our code to continue the process that another method is doing. Usually these are used because the original method will only require maybe a single parameter, but another method or a helper method will require 3 or 4 parameters in order to do its recursive call. These are commonly used with recursive functions in order to get additional information on the first recursive call. So let's take a look at an example of this. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an output here, which is going to call something called func, which will require a string. So I'm going to create my method here, which is going to require a string as we called funct, and we'll have a single parameter string. I'm going to add a single if statement that says if the string.length is less than 0, I'm simply going to return the string since there is no reason to me to go further since there is no data to do anything on. Then I'm going to make my call to our helper function. This helper function is going to take the string as well as the string's length in. The reason for this is because I don't want to be calling the string's length over and over again, since this value will need to be a function call instead of a variable. Next, let's look at the helper function. The helper function takes in a string as well as an integer. It will have a base case where the size is equal to 0. I'm going to return the number 0. This is basically because if I get to a point where I no longer have a string, I want to return a 0 so that I know that's where I am in the string. Next, I'm going to do my recursive call. The recursive call for this helper function will simply be that it will take a substring that takes everything from the first character to the character before the size. In other words, it will take off the last letter, and then it will add it to that last letter plus the variable size. What this should create is a string that has each letter from our original word, but with the value in front of them of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or in other words, after them should be the size of what the current string would be. So let's try running this, and I'll get 0h, 1e, 2l, 3l, 4o, and then 5. The purpose of our helper function in this one is rather simple and just requires to do something that we could have done anyway with another method. However, it does reduce the amount of method calls we need to do and would make our function much faster for larger and larger words. Helper functions can take in much more complex things to data, such as what our current new string might be, so that when we get to our base case, what we might do instead of returning is actually output, like we would using permutations. That concludes this lesson. Have a great day.